Long ago, in the quiet American countryside town of Clearwater Village, lived a man named Henry Dawson. Henry was known throughout the village for a very simple reason. His heart was always bigger than his hunger. He was a man who believed deeply in kindness and charity. Even on days when he barely had enough food for himself, he never, ever turned away anyone who came to his door asking for help. The villagers all admired him, they praised him, and they often said to one another, if goodness had a face, it would look just like Henry. One chilly early morning, Henry managed to scrape together enough ingredients for a small, simple meal. Just as he sat down to finally eat, a very weak voice drifted from outside his door. Son, please, could you give me something to eat? I haven't eaten since yesterday. I can barely even walk. Henry immediately opened the door and saw an old wandering monk, incredibly thin and looking utterly exhausted. Please, come inside, sir, Henry said with genuine kindness in his voice. Sit with me and eat. The old man looked at the single plate of food and then back at Henry. This food won't be enough for both of us, he said, his voice raspy. Henry just smiled gently. That's all right. I ate last night. You eat your fill. Without a moment of hesitation, Henry pushed his only plate of food toward the old man. The monk ate quickly, clearly starving. After he finished every last bite, he blessed Henry warmly. May God always keep you happy, my son. People like you are so rare in this world. The monk left, and only then did the sharp pangs of hunger hit Henry. He realized just how hungry he truly was. He went to his small kitchen and opened every single container. Not one single grain of food remained. Still, he let out a peaceful sigh. At least someone ate today. Later that day, Henry stepped outside to look for some work, anything to earn a little money for food. He passed by his neighbor, Ronald Miller, who was struggling to carry heavy grain sacks from his farm. Ronald muttered to his wife, just loud enough for Henry to hear, I've been lifting these sacks all morning. My back is killing me. I'll just call Henry. He's foolish enough to help even when he has nothing. Then Ronald shouted, Hey Henry, I've got 10 more sacks to bring in from the field. I'm completely exhausted. Can you give me a hand? Of course, Henry replied immediately, without a second thought. For hours, Henry carried those heavy, cumbersome sacks under the burning sun, all on a completely empty stomach. When all the work was finally done, Ronald simply clapped him on the shoulder and said, Thanks. You saved me a lot of trouble. No food, no payment, nothing. That night, feeling weak and shaking from hunger, Henry had no choice but to borrow some groceries on credit from Harold's store. He went home and cooked a simple meal, his body aching from the day's labor. The very next morning, Henry was awakened by the sound of loud crying and shouting. He rushed outside his house and saw a horrifying sight. His neighbor, Kevin Brooks, was violently beating his wife. Stop, Henry shouted, his voice ringing out. Why are you hitting her? She's my wife. Mind your own business, Kevin yelled back, his face twisted with rage. A crowd of villagers had gathered, but they just stood there, whispering in fear. No one dared to intervene. Henry couldn't just stand by and watch. He stepped forward and, with all his strength, slapped Kevin hard across the face. The crowd gasped, then erupted into cheers. "You did the right thing, Henry," one person shouted. "He deserves worse," yelled another. "A man who hits his wife is no man at all." Kevin, humiliated and furious, demanded money from Henry and threatened more violence. Henry immediately handed him some cash and warned him sternly, "If you ever raise your hand to her again, I will personally make sure you end up in jail." The village women looked at Henry with immense respect and gratitude. "You should be our next village head," one of them said. "Yes," others quickly agreed. "With you as our leader, this village will finally prosper." And soon it came to be. The villagers, tired of the old ways, elected Henry as the new head of Clearwater Village. But the former leader, a man named Leonard Stone, was absolutely furious. "That charity fool thinks he can replace me," Leonard growled to his confidant. "I'll destroy him. I'll make everyone hate him." His chance came when it was time to distribute government food supplies. Leonard devised a wicked plan. He secretly mixed spoiled, rotten grain into the village's food stock hall without Henry's knowledge. At first, the villagers were overjoyed with the distribution. "For the first time, we got our full rations," they said, praising Henry. But their joy was short-lived. The very next day, a wave of sickness spread like wildfire across the village. People were falling ill everywhere. Angry and betrayed, the villagers gathered, their faces dark with fury, and marched to Henry's house. "You betrayed us," one shouted. "You mixed spoiled food to save money," yelled another. Even Leonard wasn't this cruel. No one would listen to Henry's desperate pleas of innocence. Their ears were deaf to his words. "You don't deserve to live here," they screamed. Their voice is filled with hate. And just like that, Henry, the man who had sacrificed everything for them, was driven out of the village. Betrayed and broken, Henry walked for miles until he collapsed beneath a tree. Far away from Clearwater, his heart was shattered. "I lived for them," he whispered to himself, "and they believed a lie over me." Back in the village, Leonard Stone easily stepped back into the role of leader, cleverly winning back the villagers' trust with false promises. Months passed. Henry completely vanished. It was as if he had disappeared from the face of the earth. Then one day, Leonard's servant was in the forest and overheard two men talking. "Did you hear? That man, Henry Dawson, killed himself in a hut out here," one said. "They found him a week ago." When the servant reported this news, Leonard smiled in pure relief. Finally, he thought, "My problem is gone forever." But it wasn't. One evening, as darkness fell over the village, a shadow appeared at Leonard's door. Leonard opened it, and his face went pale with terror. Standing there was the silhouette of Henry. It's Henry's ghost," he stammered. The servant screamed and fled in terror. Henry stepped forward calmly into the light. "I'm not a ghost, Leonard," he said, his voice cold as ice. "You ruined my name, and now you are going to tell everyone the truth." Terrified of this man he thought was dead, Leonard agreed to everything. That very night, the entire village was gathered. Shaking with fear, Leonard confessed it all: the food adulteration, the lies he spread, the entire betrayal. Then Henry spoke to the crowd. "I had to fake my death," he explained, his voice steady. It was the only way the real thief would feel safe enough to reveal himself. I have always served you honestly, deeply ashamed. The villagers expelled Leonard from Clearwater forever. They begged Henry for his forgiveness and asked him to be their leader again. But Henry refused. He had learned a hard lesson. Instead, they all agreed to choose Brian Wilson, a fair and humble man, as the new village head. Henry walked away quietly from the crowd. His heart was still just as kind, but now it was also much, much wiser. The story of Henry Dawson teaches us that true goodness may be tested, it may be betrayed, and it may even be broken, but in the end, truth always finds its way back. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that inspires. We'll see you in the next video.